Hey everyone, and welcome to Signals from the Frontline, your every Wednesday live broadcast brought to you by Frontline Gaming. We are your hosts, Kicker, the Chief of Serial and Sigilite of the FLG, and I'm Seth the Mad Dog, your competitive correspondent. Kicker, how you been doing, bud?
I'm doing swell. Hey everyone, guys in chat, it's so good to see you. Some people from Mexico, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us. So a few people from around the world. It's always good to see you guys. If you're listening to our podcast, please consider watching us live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can be part of the show, part of chat, watch the visuals, like my hobby progress. Because Seth, I have been busy. Can we bring in my hobby progress here? I'm really proud of what I've been doing. I have been hobbying like a madman. That is 15 Navy breachers, which I count as my scions, and they are all kind of industrial line, boom, 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 knocking them out. Usually to paint these many models, it takes me about 2 weeks, and I'm doing it in about a week. I've just been eager to get them on the
Those are looking really good, although for some reason I thought it was supposed to be Votan. Weren't you supposed to be?
Shut up, we're done with the Votan. It's guard all the way, Votan. Maybe in 10th. Maybe in 10th I'll revisit Votan. But right now, guard is where my heart is, and so I don't really like the actual Scion miniatures that much. I think they just don't fit the style that I go for. So these are the Navy breachers, but I'm using them as my ones, and they are awesome. I actually have another slide here of a finished model. This is kind of my template right there. This guy's, he's got one of those big, I guess, Navy breacher like multi-laser things, but guess what? It makes a great hot shot volley gun. So
it does.
What do you think, Seth? Is it olive drab enough for you? I know you like to get
I know you love your earth tones, and it looks very good, buddy.
All right,
it looks very good.
What have you been up to? I know you've not been painting, but you have been busy, right, Seth?
I've been doing some painting, but I haven't completed anything. I don't have anything ready to reveal to the audience here, but I've been busy. I went to an RTT on Saturday. I didn't tell you this, but I recorded a new video for my channel on Sunday and put that up.
Can we plug your channel? Let's plug your channel.
Seth the Mad Dog. So I did a deployment video for Orcs. I played a bunch of the Diablo 4 beta. That's really good. And then I did do some painting, and while doing that, I was kind of catching up on My Hero Academia. So, I've been doing some hobby. What about our lovely producer behind the scenes, Nicky D?
No hobby for me this week. I was actually, I was away for 4 days plus a red-eye flight back for a work from, I don't do producing this show full time.
You have another job? What?
Yeah, I have another job where I work a full-time thing. So no hobby for me this week. But let me tell you, this weekend I am more, after spending 4 days at a conference socializing, I am ready to just sit down and not talk with people and paint my miniatures. I am ready for it. Yes, I know. I don't know what I'm going to be painting yet, but stay tuned for a hobby update from Nicky D next week.
Good.
So Kicker wins the Hobby Progress Award for this week, apparently. Uncontested, I point out. Uncontested. But he wins it.
I tried extra hard this week, too, which is just not like cool, guys. I wanted to really one up you guys by painting, basically an entire detachment. But that's fine. That's fine. I'll just roll with it.
So Kicker and Seth, I'll point out, Guard are now starting to win in podium some events.
Yeah, they are.
It's the same thing. They're winning on the hobby tables now. So maybe it's just March going into April. Maybe that's the time of the year for the Imperial Guard.
The spring of Guard.
The spring of Guard. That's our title for next week's show.
Yeah, great.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about releases and industry news. We should do we want to do a recap really fast about what happened at Adepticon and kind of rank those? Is that how we want to do this?
Well, I don't know if I'm ranking things, but I'll give a score.
You'll give a score. So Nicky D, are you cool with doing our rankings from Adepticon first and then going into the new products that were released this week?
Yeah, that works.
Let's do that. Okay, so guys, what we're going to do right now is Seth, myself, and Nicky D, we are going to rank the reveals from Adepticon, 1 through 10, 10 being the best. We're going to rank them on three categories, though. 1 through 10 in terms of are they wanted, 1 through 10 in terms of the hype, like were they that awesome, and then 1 through 10 in terms of how they will impact the gameplay, like are they actually going to be impacted?
Could I maybe change this ranking system since we have what appears to be 8 items for our 1 through 10 ranking?
Yeah, sure.
What if we do a tier system? S tier, A tier, B tier.
Fine. I never understood what the S stands for in the tier system.
It's above
isn't A the best?
It's above A.
I don't even understand, but S is like after in the whatever.
Just in your mind, S is A
That's
plus.
the best. All right, so let's rank these as best we can.
That's the best.
Remember, we're talking about, are they wanted?
Yeah.
Were they exciting? And of course, the impact of the game. So let's start off with the Lion, the brand new model. We know the rules at Adepticon. We just saw the model. Seth, where is this in the tier? Is this something that people wanted? Like, do people actually want this thing?
The Lion?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, S tier. Everyone,
Yeah,
I wouldn't say everyone wanted Lion, but in general, like another Imperial Primarch, another Loyalist Primarch is definitely wanted, and I would say the model does the character justice.
Right.
So I would give it an S on the hype end of the train as well.
Nicky, are you supporting this comment here?
Famously, I am not a Dark Angels player, right? I'm Blood Angels all the time. Seeing this model, I might just have to get it just to paint it, right? Like it is spot on. Absolutely knocks it out of the park. And from a model standpoint, I don't think it could be better, quite honestly.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about in terms of gameplay? Like, I mean, there's a new HQ, character coming in.
And they did actually preview the rules for him today on Warhammer Community.
We'll go into the details a little bit later, but in general, you think he's got to be impactful, right? He's going to be seeing the tables, right? He has to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's assuming he has a lot of rules similar to his brother Gilliman. He's going to have some buffs for the army, but he also seems to have a really, really, really good sword. So I think he's going to be a beat stick, which is just what that army needed, really, was just some way to hit me harder in combat. Thanks, GW. Thanks.
Okay, well, do we want to talk about the rules about him right now? What do you guys think? Make this.
Let's hit the rules because that's part of the hype.
The rules were released as of today. These are things we're sharing that are publicly available. You can find them on Warcom. Straight up, this guy's got a whopping 10 attacks, folks, and that goes to 20 attacks if you use one of the weapon profiles on a sword.
And don't forget, most Marines get +1 attack on the turn they charge.
I didn't, dude. Good point. So we're going to is that 22 attacks?
22 attacks with fealty.
And let's not forget, those do 2 damage. So he's mowing down Marines with his attack. So that alone's impressive. Plus, guys, it's official. He's a character because he's going to be character protected. He's a character that can be character protected,
which is
pretty damn important. Like, that means now he can just walk right up the board behind his blade guard or whatever and not get shot out. And let's talk about the shield. Did you see the shield?
Before you get to the shield, we're not done with the sword. That sword has 2 profiles. The other profile makes him strength 10, neg 5 at 4 damage with 10 or 11 attack
damage. Damn, man. And he's hitting on 2s, right? I mean, that's all going to sink in. So then, of course, that's his offensive profile. His defensive profile, he's got the shield. First of all, as we were talking about, the model's gorgeous, and I think that shield is a huge part of it that people are not even talking about. Like, I think the shield's the coolest part. The shield is sexy, but it does mortal wounds, I think, on a 6 to...
it bounces back.
Yeah, it bounces back.
And then it can bounce back some damage. I think Cassell and Robots had that.
That
ability.
There is a cap. The GW's rules writers realize this is probably really powerful if a horde's attacking him. So it does cap at 3 mortal wounds, which is nice.
Yeah.
But that's a really cool little perk. Is hey, you're gonna hit me, well I'm gonna be hitting you back. So he's got that. He's also got the deep strike ability, which just I didn't know that was a thing that he had. Is this the first Primarch with some sort of kind of surprise?
Forest Walk. When I read Forest Walk, I did immediately go back to Magic the Gathering, and I was like, does that mean he's unblockable if there's woods on the table? Wait a minute.
So based off the rules that we know, Seth, I mean, do you think he's going to be an auto-include? We don't know his points. We don't know any of that yet.
Yeah, I mean, if you assume he's near like Gilliman price levels, I think he's in.
Yeah, and he's going to have some sort of other rules. We just don't know. Yeah. I mean, this is just his basic stats that we know. Right? We don't even know anything else about him. So he's looking pretty powerful.
I think you're going to see him because if he has anything like wound gating or any access to like damage reduction or feel no pain, he's going to be a bear to deal with because you're basically going to have to get in combat to deal with him or kill every model around him. And here's the secret about Dark Angels: they have lots of infantry that are really, really, really hard to kill. So
Dark Angels have like durable infantry? What are you?
You're not going to get to shoot that guy. You're going to have to go punch him. And I have bad news for you when you try to punch him. He hit real hard. So he's going to be a rough boy. So
Saddle up to take that guy down. So let's go back to our ranking. So he's probably S tier on most categories then
I'd say so. Yeah.
The Adepticon reveals. But we didn't just have that, right? We also have the Lion, the Arcs of Omen book, right? There's going to be lore involved. Let's talk about it straight up. I mean, was this something that was wanted? Do people want another lore book, boarding action lore, some data in there? Are people excited about that? Wanting that?
In terms of like people, like if that's where you're going to get your rules for the Lion, then yeah, I'd say they want it.
I guess they want the rules, but I guess the Arcs of Omen is more of like a boarding action lore. Like, to be honest,
sorry, I think from a lore standpoint, I would definitely rank this like an A because we need to know why the Lion woke up.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, like he didn't just like yawn, stretch, get up, and go like start, saying heretics. Like, there has to be like, something going on there. And if you go back to like, I think it was like 7th into 8th with Rise of the Primarch, the story of Gilliman's revival was actually a really cool story. So, I want to know the story there. I'll probably get the book just so I can learn the story on it. So I think I'm excited for it. I would give it a wanted and a hype of an A. Gameplay impact. It's going to have a lot of stuff for boarding action, so it's going to have a big impact on that. I'm assuming it's going to have the data sheet for the Lion himself. So 40K as a whole, wider, it might not have as much of an impact, but definitely going to be important for the boarding action.
Okay,
community.
Well, let's talk about the game. So the gameplay impact. So we'll have some impact, obviously, because it's going to have the data sheets for the Lion. Whatever boarding action. I mean, it's going to be integral to boarding action. So if you're playing boarding action, you're going to need this book. But okay, so let's move on from that book. Let's talk about the other big, surprise. Obviously, 10th edition. This was huge. We're not even going to talk about 10th edition because this is the most impactful, the biggest hype. Blah 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 blah. But let's talk about the models. We saw the new Terminators.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Where is this ranking here? Is this S tier? I mean, did people want new Terminators?
F tier.
F tier.
If you just put that picture up and said, look, a Terminator. At first inspection, I couldn't have told you it was a new Terminator.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Seth. I thought, first of all, I didn't think we needed new old Marines. You know what I mean? Like I felt like everything was just gonna be Primaris from this point on, and it'd just be a new creation. So I didn't think it was necessarily wanted. The Terminators are cool. Don't get me wrong, but like you said, Seth, when I saw the model, I'm like, is that an old model or a new model? I can't tell.
When they did some side-by-sides, I could start noticing some differences. I could see more detail. Like, obviously, there's a stature difference. The new Terminators are taller. But there's also more detail in the kit than there was in the old kit. So, and if you've painted a Primaris Marine, and you've painted one of those older kits that are like 10, 15-year-old Space Marines, they're not bad kits, but there's definitely a steep difference in the crispness of that fine detail. So, I think
you're going to paint a better model. You're going to be doing a better paint job on these new models. They're designed painted easier. Like, let's just be straight up. Like, everything from the size of the lenses, all that. It makes it easier to paint.
I think it wasn't a massive change, but then again, if they massively changed Terminator armor, that is pretty iconic in the lore, we'd have probably had some angry fans out there. So I understand them not wanting to do a crazy radical change to the Terminator model, and still keep it the same lore. It's the same unit.
And can we be like, let's just say it. The Terminator helmet is one of the most beloved helmets of all of 40K. It's just so iconic. It's so cool. You don't want to mess with that at all.
Yeah, fair. So it wasn't like on first glance, it wasn't a stunning thing, but once you started digging into it and look at some of those images what they put up on their community page, and you could really start looking at the side by sides, I really started to notice the difference then. Yeah.
Nicky D, what do you think in terms of gameplay? Do you think Terminators, because of the new models, do you think Terminators are just going to dominate the field? You being our resonating, our Space Marine expert here.
So. Yeah, two things about Terminators and having new models. One, they look better when they're red, Blood Angels. That's a fact always. But new Terminators, well, I'll be interested to see because we've seen these are the classic Terminators that typically have a power fist and then a combi weapon or something else like that. And those aren't exactly the Terminators that you're seeing take over the meta. I mean, even then, the Deathwing Terminators are typically 2 assault weapons, a couple shooting. So if it's just the classic Terminator, I don't think we're going to see it take over the meta, but we will see, I think, a lot of classical or maybe non-competitive Marine players. And when I say non-competitive, guys that aren't looking to go win the event, but guys that
Yeah.
want to go and play dice for 3 rounds or 6 rounds, that sort of thing, they're going to bring out lots of new Terminators for sure.
Yeah, totally. Oh, okay, just throwing this out there. I mean, I know, Seth, you have an army. Obviously, Nicky D has a Space Marine army. Both you guys answer. Assuming you have Terminators, are you going to be tossing in your old Terminators and buying the new ones? I mean, I know you guys are primarily playing other armies right now, but do you ever play your old Terminator? Like, I don't like to use old miniatures personally. Like, I like the new stuff too much. What do you guys? You going to keep your old ones or going to toss them?
I'm trying to think if I even have Terminators in my Marine collection. I mean, I wouldn't toss my old ones, but I don't think I have too many of them if I do. So I certainly would be adding some more. Although I guess I might have to get some tactical rocks involved to fix the stature issues.
Fix them up a bit, yeah. What about you, Nicky?
Real talk, Kicker. I would wait a few years for the old models to become now collector's items, and then I'd either sell them myself or maybe contact Frontline Gaming secondhand store to get them and perhaps make a profit off of it. That's what I think I'd be doing.
Potential. There we go, guys. If you're in chat, tell us what you think. Do you like the new Terminators? All right, let's talk about the Termagants. So we got the good guys. Let's talk about the bad guys. Were they wanted? Do you think people needed these new bugs?
The bug kit was certainly old, and I had seen a lot of people do some creative workarounds to try to make them a little bit more dynamic. Like if you look at one of the things that I know a lot of bug players hate, if you look at the old kit, all the tails are like perfectly straight.
Yeah.
And I actually knew some people that would like hold them over a candle, melt the tail, and bend it to give it a curve. So they all had a little different curve to it.
No way, really?
Added, like if you look at this one's pose, they've added a little bit more to it, so it's not going to look very because right now when you build a unit of 10 gaunts out of a box, it's very much like cookie cutter, like they're almost all the exact same pose. So this at least gives some variety to the poses, which makes when you have a big unit of that moving across the table, it gives it that illusion of a moving horde. So I like it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. In terms of hype, I mean, they were a focal point of the video. I think that everyone was excited to see them. They looked, terrible. They weren't just getting destroyed by the Marines. It was, a punch for a punch. What do you think? The hype, where we rank of a B maybe? Because obviously they weren't the glory boys that is the Marines. What do you think?
I mean, I think if you're looking at the NIDS as a whole in the video, there was definitely some other like units in the video that we didn't see in like actual models. There was a Redemptor Dreadnought with like a missile rack and a las cannon, which is like an old Dreadnought style, but on a Redemptor chassis. There was a Primaris Marine running around with like a combi flamer, which we haven't seen before. There was some new form of brain bug floating around back there behind all the NIDS. The Biovores look different than they look like in the game, so it looks like there's maybe going to be a wider range refresh on NIDS, which is going to be really cool. And certainly some more things coming out for Marines that we haven't seen just yet. So I think it's pretty hype.
And in terms of gameplay, I mean, this is going to be probably a whole new army, whole new. It's going to be, a whole new faction people want to be taking.
I got to give it to Mike Brandt. Like, I usually don't give too many props on the show, but when that trailer went up, he said, "This is the Grimdark" afterwards, and I didn't get to watch the thing live that night, and I went and watched it later, and then I was like, "Yeah, this is actually really depressing if you're the Imperium."
Yeah, totally. No,
definitely the Grimdark. Things is going down.
Spot on, man. Spot on.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about him. Kill Team Gallowfall. This is the Votan versus the Chaos Beastmen. Now,
yes.
I don't know if this was wanted. I really did people want Beastmen? I mean, what Nicky D? Did people want Beastmen? Like, is that a thing people were looking for?
I mean, I think it's one of the most wanted things in 40K.
Okay.
And
right.
I am hoping. I know many folks that I think are hoping this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've seen other factions that get started in Kill Team, right? Or I guess to some degree Necromunda, that eventually get brought in. And let me tell you, Beastmen in 40K, my phone and my Discord chats were probably blowing up about this more than anything else, even the Lion.
Wow.
Now hold on, Kicker. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's scroll all the way back to your hobby progress. What models did you use for your hobby progress?
You're right. They're in Navy Breachers.
Navy Breachers from a Kill Team set.
From a Kill Team set, yeah. So
wait a minute. Are you saying that you could release a small range of models in a Kill Team set that then people could use as accounts for for different units in the main books.
so
I know Nicky wants the full range, but like even if they didn't and they just did this as a kill team range, you could still pick those up and run those as, cultists or Zangors or whatever.
And Seth, you've got a great point. Anyone who's bought in any one of these kill team sets that obviously have rules for 40k. This includes the Commandos, the Death Corps Creed, the original ones. All these new kits have got so many more bits than kits 5 years ago that this is one squad of Beastmen, but they're probably gonna have so much potential, both conversion and just using it right out of the instruction booklet in terms of the potential there. So like, don't sleep on this. Yes, you can do what I'm doing, and there's one squad of Navy breachers that I've turned into an entire detachment of Scions.
Yeah. And Kicker, I do know for a fact that one of our compatriots, Danny McDevitt, over on Grim After Dark, he's using the Traitor Guard kill team set as the basis for his entire Guard army.
Oh no!
So his entire Guard army is going to be decked out like Traitor Guard.
That is sexy. So, we need to get photos of that. I personally want to see that, but I'm sure our audience would love to see that. That sounds
so I like when they do these little kill team things like that, where they don't necessarily have to expand into a full range if they don't want to, if there's not a huge audience for it, but it gives a new tool in the toolbox to people out there that want to do conversions and make some more unique looking armies.
Okay, so this is obviously ranking pretty high. I'd say this is above I'd say this above the Arcs of Lion Arcs of Own book. This is a solid set here. People are excited. It's going to be impactful. It's going to obviously have kill team impact as well as 40k, because people will find a way to get that 40k, even if it's just as count as. Let's talk about the new Age of Sigmar stuff. I'm going to kind of lump all this into one because you and I are not so savvy regarding the Age of Sigmar world. So we've got the new Bone Reapers, we got the new Grave Lords, and the big ones, the Seraphon, holy fish sticks, and then we got the Empire Man minis previewed. The Empire Man minis, I've seen so many 40k people saying, I want those to be my guard. Just put guns on them and call them guard. So you've got all this new Age of Sigmar stuff that's like
they look great,
coming soon. What do you think? I think it was all wanted, right? There's no doubt about it. All this stuff was
all wanted. Age of Sigmar always has really, really, really good sculpts. This stuff looks amazing. I don't know the game system well enough to tell you rules impact, how much it's going to shift that in terms of the game. But from just a pure modeling standpoint, this stuff is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm ready to play Age of Sigmar tomorrow as soon as these Seraphon drop. I'm on board. This is I never played Age of Sigmar before, but I will be now because of these models. So let's do it.
All right.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys for sitting through that, with us. Let's talk about some of the models that are coming out this week, or that we at least just heard about. Right. We've got the 3 new boarding patrols. We've got, for 40k, we got Adeptus Sororitas, Adeptus Custodes, and the Thousand Sons. Remember, these are basically just your combat patrol boxes. Really, really, really good value combat patrol boxes, and all the miniatures in these boxes have function. So not only are you getting a lot of bang for your buck, but you're getting models you're actually going to want to use. Then Necromunda has House Caudar, and the Enforcers are getting some sort of mini dreadnought thing. I can't pronounce it. Necromunda. But it's
the mini dreadnought thing. You mean the thing I'm going to use as a conversion for Mega Knobs somehow?
Yes. Do you know that it's like the Enforcers? I don't know, mini dreadnought. I can't. It's like a robot.
Mega Knob. Yeah, got it. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, right? It's going to come in. It's coming in plastic. We know this. That means plastic means conversion opportunities. Oh, big one. There's going to be a black library book on the Lion. So this we got the new model coming.
But here's the mind-blowing soldier horses.
Right,
Kicker.
Do it. Holding my horses.
Behind the scenes, folks. Kicker didn't really know much about the Lion. Last week we had to educate him after the show when the reveal happened. But so now he knows who the Fallen is. You remember who the Fallen are, Kicker? The Marines that betrayed the Lion.
Yeah, the
rest of the chapter we're hunting for the last 10,000 years.
Yeah. Gotcha.
They in the little snippet preview they put up for that book. Yeah. The Lion calls on all his allies, including the Fallen.
Ooh.
And some of the Fallen are not traitors and want to repent. So I have an extreme tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. What if you made a Space Marine unit for the Dark Angels that was like Repentia?
Ooh, okay, I like it. It's
the Fallen that want to repent and are given the option to repent and pay penance by death in battle.
I like it, man. I like it. I see that. And they're going to have more.
In the book where he says he's calling the Fallen to help, you could totally put in there that, some of those guys are like, hey, I know I screwed up and I got to pay a price. Let me at least die honorably in battle.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love it. I love it. Chat, what do you guys think? Do you think we're getting some new Dark Angels minis based off of Seth's crazy conspiracy theory, which is probably
I'm all in for it. I think that would
it sounds
be really
accurate,
cool.
man. We have to do our jank of the week. Seth,
Oh, yes.
you are up. You've got us some crazy jank that happened at the tables, or you're trying to work.
I actually managed to pull this particular jank off in a game, which is why I included it. So you take the orc character Zagstruck, which is a fly character, meaning you can move 12, advance 6.
He's the one with like the clawed
over,
feet, right? The vulture feet.
And move over models. Yeah. And you can also, because you're fly, charge over models. So I moved him up the field. I cast a spell on him called Vistagork, which normally gives you +2 attack, +2 strength, taking him from a base attack of 6 to 8, and a base strength of 6 to 8. But I got it on 11, which gives it +3/+3. So now he's 9 attacks and 9 strength, and it was a walk turn, and I charged, which makes it strength 11. And it makes it 10 attacks.
This is so ridiculous.
And fly charged over a unit of Terminators behind them into a Ravenwing Apothecary. And hit him with 10 attacks at weapon skill 2, strength 10, neg 3, 2 damage. And the Ravenwing Apothecary doesn't get inner circle transhuman.
Oh, wow.
And so you hit on 2s, you explode on 6s, so statistically you end up with 10 hits. You wound on 2s, so you're like, here's 8 or 9 neg 3s, and he's saving on, like, I think he's got a 6 up at that point. Like, dead. That Ravenwing Apothecary died in a hurry, which took away a huge buff for the Dark Angels. So definitely... It's a thing that I know in the back of my head I can do, but it's never really all lined up just perfectly like that, where it's like I have a place where I can move Zagstruck that's still within 12 inches of him to cast the spell, but also in position for him to charge over the unit I want and land into the target behind, and there's space to land in the target behind, and I roll the 9 to get there, and yada, you know. But boy, when you pull that off and just nuke some big support character like that, you're like, yeah, I'm a big man now.
Well done, dude. Proud of you. That is nice. That is nice. Okay, Nicky D, think about your jank of the week for next week. We're asking you to come up with something.
Ooh, so all right.
Get ready.
All right.
All right,
Company
let's jump
news,
really fast. We're going to talk about some events. Bay Area Open, guys. Remember, this is the event over Memorial Day weekend in May. Merch is going on last call, so if you want to pre-order your merch, order it in the next 3 days. We'll
now, Kicker, why would someone want to pre-order their merch?
We don't bring extras to the event, guys. So don't show up wanting your shirt. And this logo is probably one of the coolest logos we've done in a while in terms of the way it looks on a shirt. Like, it's a nice circular logo on the shirt. It's sexy. You want it. You got to pre-order it though if you want it. ACO, guys, we've added Song, which is a Song of Ice and Fire. We've added Kill Team, and now we're adding, I think tomorrow we're adding narrative tickets for our Sunday narrative. So ACO, obviously 40K is going to be massive there. I think it's going to be our largest 40K event outside of Cherokee. Outside of LVO. Cherokee was massive, and we didn't think anything was going to top Cherokee, but it looks like this will top it. It looks like everyone wants to get back to events, which is great. So 40K is going to be big, but narrative, guys, that's going to be a thing. Kill Team is going to be growing. Kill Team get some really cool exclusive swag just for the Kill Team players, and Simon is fully supporting the Song of Ice and Fire tournament.
Awesome.
Finally, Lone Star Open. Those tickets are going live in a few weeks. And as of today, we just agreed to be adding a 30K tournament. People want to play 30K, so we're throwing a 30K tournament in there. So yes, I hope to see Seth and Nicky there. It's gonna be a fun time. And finally, guys, LVO. Give me some time. We just finished up. We got time.
It's only March, Kicker. You've only had 2 months. What are you doing?
Just the amount of people asking about LVO, and I love it. LVO is happening. It's happening at the end of January. Contracts are in place. Everything's figured out. We have the venue. We're just going to be making the big formal announcement when we can provide all the information in one consolidated way. So yay for that. Seth, what have you been up to? What do you have anything you want to share? I know you want maybe talk about where we're going to be for the next few weeks / forever.
Yeah, so this is the last week. The few folks I see left over on Twitch, this is our last week on Twitch. Starting next week, everything we put out will be on YouTube and YouTube only. So if you're watching us live somewhere else, you're going to need to move to YouTube next week. So moving forward, that's where we're going to be. And then I'm hoping to have everything finalized in terms of the network news for next week as well. And I can kind of do the grand reveal of everything that's going to be in our network, which is really cool and really exciting. Cool. I've been doing a lot of work on that behind the scenes. Here things have been going pretty well. So stay tuned on that front. But I think it's time for our signal short.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to bring Nicky D, and he's going to ask you a question, Seth, and guess what? You've got 30 seconds to answer it. Get ready. Nicky D, go.
Who's timing me?
Oh, I am. On my fingers.
Okay. All right, ready? Here we go. Question for Seth. Stratagems. A good thing or a bad thing, and why?
They're inherently a good thing. I like having a once per game ability on units, or a way to make them a bit more than what they see on their data sheet. I definitely understand when there's 20 or 30 stratagems that your opponent's army could have, that it gets really hard for you as the opponent to understand what could be coming at you. And also could be hard for you to understand what all the combos are available to you to do with your army. So I definitely think trimming it down would be a good idea to make it more simplistic, but I do like the idea of having a pool of resources in the form of like command points that you could spend on any unit in your army through the form of stratagems to kind of buff them in some way.
There we go. Well done, Seth. A little over 30 seconds, but then again, I count really fast, so you might have been perfect. Who knows?
Oh, I am perfect. I know. That's just a different thing.
No, Seth, but this is a great segue into what we're going to be talking about next. 10th edition is coming. We need to talk about it. And one of the big things that's been a focus by GW so far is...
Mark of Corn, I see you saying orc players ignore the clock. I will have you know, Mark of Corn, but I've never clocked out as an orc player.
This is Seth replying to somebody in chat who's calling him out for not respecting the time limit in the signal short, but that's okay. Seth's giving the mean eye, too. Don't mess with Seth, man.
How do I glare at chat?
How do you glare at chat? He's doing it. I don't know. You're finding a way to do it, so well done. So, guys, we're going into this new edition, and something that GW's really been leaning into is the and I'm just going to quote them here, simplified but not simple. And this goes right into what we're talking about, stratagems here. Like, do they make the game more complicated or not? I'm not sure. We wanted to ask the community, on the Facebook Frontline Gaming community group, hey, guys, what do you think? Answer this poll. Tell us, which one of these do you hope comes true? Do you think, in terms of this whole more simplified version, is a simpler army construction going to be more important? Is it easier to learn and play and teach? Is that more important? Is less books needed to play more important? Less complicated bookkeeping during games? Is that what means the most to you? What about faster games? Is that the most important? So we got the poll, and as of this, I guess, evening, we found out that 2% of the people care about these simpler armor construction. That's not that exciting for them. Easier to learn and to play and to teach. I thought that was going to be really important to people, but apparently only 5% people care about that. Less books needed to play. Now we're talking 22% there. That is
a bigger chunk.
And there's a financial thing involved with that too, right, Seth? Like less books means less things you're buying, right?
Yeah, and also from an entry standpoint, like if you kicker tried to get into an army that you like right now in the end of 9th edition here, if you were like, man, I really want to play Drukhari, and then going and finding all the rule sources that you would need sometimes can be a little daunting for new players.
Yeah, no, totally. That is definitely a barrier, right? Yeah. Okay. So now at 28%, less complicated bookkeeping during games. 28% of the people said that is what's most important to them, is they do not want to have such a hard time keeping score during these games and all, and what do you think, Seth? I mean, are the games, you go to more tournaments, you play more tournaments?
It definitely has become a lot. There's some apps out there like the ITC Battles app that helps with tracking that. But there's it's to the point where, if I'm playing, against me orcs versus, let's say, Astriani, I've got my command points, my primary, my secondary, their command points, their primary, their secondary. But then they also have another resource that I don't, in the form of fate dice to keep track of, or if it's sisters, it's miracle dice, or if
orders. All these armies have
orders. I have my WOG and what turn I call that and how the effects. So it certainly can be a little much to keep track of at times, particularly if you're on the less competitive end and you're not playing as frequently, it can be a lot to keep up. Versus like if you're playing a bunch and you're learning all these different armies, you might be able to keep up with all those rules a little bit more. But even at a high end level, I guarantee you less bookkeeping makes it easier to see in terms of where you are positioning in a game, and also just reduces the chance of there being errors where people have different points recorded or
those
different
errors really do come up, even in major tournaments.
CP remaining, things like that. So just cutting back on all that is ideal.
Yeah, so, Joe over at War Games Live does a great job having that display where you can see the score right then and there, which is super helpful in terms of gameplay. But if you don't have a means
but that score that he displays, Kicker, is still a function of making sure the players are doing it correct.
That's true.
On his tablet, and this is not like a knock on Joe, but there are times that players don't record things correctly, and then the display is only as good as the info and that's put into it.
That is fair. I guess I don't really know who the hell's winning. Like I literally played a game 5 days ago, and I had no idea who was winning until we at the it up. And it seemed like I'm a competent human being and my opponent is very competent, but we were having a great game and we were both keeping score kind of on our own sheets, but at the same time we weren't adding things up. So I didn't really know who was winning until the end. Obviously better players are keeping tabs on all that stuff throughout the gameplay, but I play a lot and it just seems like a burden. Okay, now out of the hundreds of people that did this poll on the Frontline Gaming community group on Facebook, out of the hundreds of people, faster games or what people are most hoping for new edition, 43% of the respondents are hoping that the new edition will lead to faster games, which is so massively impactful. I mean, obviously for us on the event side, if we can do more rounds in a short amount of time, that's great. If you want to play a pickup game after work, that'd be amazing. But Seth, is this what you're expecting? We're expecting faster games to be the most desired.
The community wants faster games, but I've actually talked a fair bit about this with some folks behind the scenes and in the competitive community. And at the end of the day, they can make a faster game of 40K, but if you, Kicker, the event organizer, still tells me that I have a 3-hour round, I absolutely know that there will be people at an event that will take all 3 hours.
No, that's
true. It could be you could have 3 hours to play a game of X-Wing and guys that figure out how to do it, okay? There are just some people that if they will take as much time as you give them. And that's not a knock on them. They're just some people that like to sit and think and really look at all their options, and sometimes that takes time. So I think if you want a game to go faster, a new rule set isn't necessarily going to be the fix. The fix is like TOs just say, hey, we're doing 2-hour rounds now, and to accomplish that, we maybe do a different point level or something like that. But I think the game might be able to be played faster, but that won't result in faster rounds, if that makes sense, because you will always have someone that plays as slow as you give them the opportunity to play.
Well, if the game can be played faster, then I promise you that we will slowly shorten the round length. Man, I just wish I could play, if the game was like 2 hours, I could play after work. Right now it's kind of reserved for a weekend.
And you can do that, if you were like, all right, me and my buddy want to play after work, but we're going to play 1,000 points.
Yeah, that's true. But
you can accomplish that. Yeah.
Like me, we're both wanting to play our full armies. We like
exactly. But that's the thing with the community. Like, we have a standard of what the size is, and the size is ultimately one of the big deciding factors in how long a game takes. And it's up to TOs to make the change if they want it, because you and I, you could streamline the game and you and I could play a game in 2 hours, but if we're at an event, there will always be 1 or 2 people that take the full time for each round. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't we get into some of those comments?
Yeah, we got a few up. So a lot of people posted, both on our page as well as a few other pages. Pandering F says 9th has been his favorite edition so far, by far. He thinks it's only going to keep on getting better. So he's excited for 10th edition. Nick, did you see some of the comments we got?
Yeah, I got one from Mark W. He really wants an edition where he can play a game where all armies are built to play in the same rule set. So I got to agree with Mark. That's a good one. Seth, what about you? You want to take the next one that we pulled out?
Yeah, Andrew B. Said that he wants it to be easier to learn, but not just for new players, but also for tournament goers, so they're more able to be aware of their opponent's factions' crazy combos. Watching the kind of reveal video, they talked about having data cards literally physically on the table with all the rules for your units, as well as your army rules being condensed down to just 2 pages, to look at. So I think that sounds like something that's very feasible, Andrew. I think it could be like you and I are playing. Here's all the orc data cards for the units that I have brought, and boom, here's the 2 pages you need to read for all of my stratagems and warlord traits and relics or whatever we have in 10th edition. So I do think that is actually really possible, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no, that is solid. That is solid. Oh, Kyle M and Lamb H both asked for the same thing. They're both hoping for new rules for terrain. I guess they want them to be a little bit more updated, a little bit more interactive, and so hopefully
as long as it's not destructible. I've heard that rumor, and it makes me cringe because I'm just like, I
wouldn't mind destructible terrain. I think it'd be kind of fun personally, but yeah, I know. I mean, it
all
gets
right, kicker. You play guard.
Yeah,
you have guns.
I just blew up all the terrain.
Yeah. I'm orcs. I'm hiding behind the terrain.
Just blew up it all.
You blew up all the terrain.
I mean, I'm very happy with this scenario, but
I see problems.
Okay, Nick, you got one more comment for us?
Yeah, this is from Joey R. I think Joey R might actually be the ghost of Joey Ramone. That's my personal take on this one real quick. He brought up a cool point that I didn't really think of, but I've heard this from some folks. Tournaments that are built around the combat patrols and boarding patrols being competitive small stage games of 40K. So
yeah,
really cool idea. I mean, hey, Kicker, you know anybody that happens to run 40K events there?
That's right. Well, right? Like I think I know a few people, and honestly, this is kind of cool because GW said that the patrol boxes will be balanced against one another, so that might be a very easy way to do instead of an RTT on Sunday, you just do combat patrol battles on Sunday. It could be super balanced. So, I mean, what do you think, Seth? What do you think about a combat patrol?
If they are balancing it as aggressively as they said they are, I think it could be a really cool system because it would be something quick and easy to pick up. If you want to try to get into a new faction, I buy just one box and that's the full army for that particular format. I think that could be cool.
Give it a shot. Cool. That's exciting. Let's talk about the USR. Nicky D, what does USR stand for those not familiar with the term?
Universal Special Rule.
Universal Special Rule. There we go. Seth, is this something exciting? Because this is coming back, dude.
Yeah, it was a thing they've had for editions, and they kind of went away for it the last 2. I'm glad for it to be back. They went away from it. I think the concept was to keep all the rules on a data sheet rather than like a data sheet saying deep strike, and then you have to go to a different book to find out what that means. But by reintroducing things like that, it makes the language uniform between those rules between armies. Yeah. So there is no question of, well, does your Auspex scan affect my version of Deep Strike or your version? So we get rid of a lot of that. It makes a lot less crazy rule combos that are out there because one rule has a weird language that the other one doesn't. So it just really cuts down a lot of that. It makes it also really easy to communicate information between each other at a table. I still use terms like Deep Strike and Feel No Pain with my opponents instead of saying, hey, anytime this model suffers a wound, I roll a dice, and on a 6, it ignores it. I just say, hey, this has a 6 up, feel no pain. So it makes it easy for us to communicate that information.
Yeah, love it. Nicky D, why don't you explain to people about the new objective control mechanic, or at least what it seems to be? It's OC, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So during the reveal Wednesday night at Adepticon, they showed a new data sheet for the Termagant, right? And there's some different formatted things. And the one thing that immediately got circled, and I saw the screenshot being passed around in every Discord chat, it's this new stat, OC, stands for Objective Control. They mentioned that Wednesday night. We've seen it in the article. And essentially what it means is that Objective Secured as an ability is going away, and each model or each unit, but it's going to have an Objective Controlled or OC number that you add those up, and that determines what it goes for the objective. I personally think that's a good thing because it was always, do you have objective secured? Yes, no, and then let's count up the numbers here. This is, to me, really, it's just removing a step, and it's just, hey, let's count up the numbers that are on there. I like that. I also, this is me being hopeful, Kicker. I like to play big chaos demon monsters. So, like, Nicky D wish listing, like, greater, a great unclean one, Nurgle, right? The big guy, like, can he have like 27 or 28? A number that ends in 7 or is a multiple of 7. But I am hopeful, no insider information, just hopeful that this gives a better way to make demons and monsters really seem more playable.
Yeah, Yeah. Makes total sense. And I mean, like, a big Nurgle demon should be able to
my Gaunts or my Gretchen stealing, the objective from your great unclean one.
Yeah, one little grot just, I have objective security.
I'm a normal git. This is my objective now. You're like, what the hell?
Seth, talking about monsters right now. What do we know about monsters and vehicles coming up?
So they talked kind of around that monsters are going to have and vehicles are going to have a significantly increased toughness stat, and maybe some more wounds, but they're still going to degrade, maybe just in a different way, in terms of like maybe they're losing some efficiency, particularly maybe in their OC. Oh boy, we got us another super chat from John McCardle, $100 super chat. Gentlemen, psyched for 10th, going to make for an interesting ACO since it will be around pre-order / release for 10th.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know first of all, thank you so much, John. We really appreciate that, dude. We don't know the official drop date yet. And so once we know, we'll kind of figure out what's going on with ACO. Yep. But as of right now, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to assume ACO will be kind of LVO was the season finale for that last mission packet. I think ACO will be the last hurrah for
and there should be the packet's up online, and there should be a rules cutoff in the packet. Yeah. But that might be something that is adjusted by the judge team as we get closer to knowing officially when 10th is going to drop.
But regardless, ACO is going to be amazingly fun, right? Like, it's going to be this last hurrah where people are just going to bring.
It's going to be a big party no matter what.
Exactly. Seth, do we want to talk about the new data sheets? Is there anything of interest besides what Nicky D was talking about regarding OC?
I think that's most of what we hit. They'd moved like the weapon skill / ballistic skills stat line from the character to the weapon, which allows them to also move strength and AP and damage all to that as well. Okay. So it gives them some options for kind of fine-tuning those particular pieces of war gear between what model's carrying it. So for instance, I think they pointed out that a power fist wielded by a basic Marine versus a power fist wielded by a captain would have a significantly different effect. Cool. Which makes sense because the captain has a lot more experience on how to use that piece of war gear than the basic starting Marine does. Nice. So,
well, guys, in chat, John, please chime in, and everyone else in chat. How are we feeling? Are we excited? Are we nervous? What do we think about this new edition coming? Nicky D is monitoring chat recently. Seth, why don't you, though, take us into our competitive 40K perspective regarding the biggest and the best?
Yeah, it's time for our biggest and the best update. So, Kicker, if you remember last week, I came on here and I said I had a bad GT performance, and it was time for me to hang up the rigless golf orc list, and it was time to go for the kill rigs. And I was all set to do that for an RTT this past weekend, and then my coach Stephen Box got a hold of me and he said, "Hey man, let's chat about this a little bit." And I was like, "All right." Then he's like, "What are your losses?" And I was like, "World Eaters." He was like, "Well, we know that World Eaters is a hard counter for most orc lists." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "What's your second loss?" I was like, "World Eaters." He was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Well, how was your third game?" I was like, "Well, I won versus Space Marines." He's like, "All right." And then he was like, "And what was your fourth game?" And I was like, "A loss to Death Guard." And he was like, "Let's talk about the loss to Death Guard." And he's like, "Well, what'd you take for secondaries?" And I went through them, and one of them was Assassinate. And he was like, "Seth, that's a bad secondary into Death Guard." We talked about that. And so then he really started to like kind of hone in on like, "Hey man, like if you ignore those World Eater games, you went 1-1 with your orcs. And the loss was probably not so much a list factor, but more you played poorly into that matchup in both secondary selection and on-table tactics. So maybe don't give up on that list yet. Maybe you need more reps." He recommends about 20 reps with the list before making significant changes.
20 full
games. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So I politely asked my TO and got my list updated. And I ended up playing that list in a practice game against Danny on TTS on a Friday night, and then I took it to the RTT on Saturday. And across the weekend, I won 2 games against Imperial Guard. I played a 40 Deathwing Terminator list and tied it 95-95.
All right, nice.
I could have won that if I did something weird at the end of the game in hindsight, which was I was going first in turn 5. I could have walked off all the objectives and denied my opponent 4 points on Chalk Assault and won the game by 4 points. And then I lost to World Eaters. So I went, hey, wait a minute. I just beat 2 guard players, and I had a really good close game into like Deathwing, the Boogeyman.
Yeah.
So the next thing I did was I was like, all right, let's see, is it worth going over to Triple Rig to be better into World Eaters, and then how does it do into those matchups? So I reached out to some of the other Orc players I know, some of the other high-end Orc players, and started talking to them, and the consensus I got was the Triple Rig list is better into World Eaters, but it's worse into Deathwing and Guard.
Yeah.
So the question that I came away with, Kicker, is if I have 2 options of a list and one is better into Guard and Deathwing and one is better into World Eaters, which one do I go with? How would I know that?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean,
well, fortunately, there's some stats guys that like to get a bunch of stats together, and so I went over to statcheck.com and I looked at the meta representation for each army to see like what percent of armies or people are playing this army. World Eaters is only at 2%. Combined Guard and Deathwing were over 10%.
Yeah, so
so it was like, okay, well, then I probably stick with this list and try to figure out how to play those matchups better, and see what I can do there. So it was kind of a roller coaster of a weekend for me. So I've been tinkering with the list, trying to figure out what I can do to make it a little bit better into World Eaters. I might try throwing some battle wagons in, because transports sort of activation lock World Eaters. They can charge in. They really can only kill my transports in combat, so then they kill my transport, then I can jump out and punch them back. So I think that's an option to look at. I've looked at putting Ghazghkull in the list, because he's wound capped, and again, World Eaters are pretty much only killing me in one phase. The problem I have with Ghazghkull is he's a 300-point model that moves 7 inches.
Yeah.
So they could literally just run around him and be like, no, just like the seas will part around Ghazghkull as the World Eaters run away from him. So I got to do some more work there, but I really do appreciate Steven for kind of like sitting me down and being like, don't listen to the shouting voice in the back of your head. Like, actually look at your game performance, actually look at the data, and let's really start to think about how this list is performing. Is there still more to be learned here? And so he kind of pushed me back to it, and I appreciate him for that, because I did learn more by playing that list over the weekend.
No, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome here. That's really solid advice.
So yeah, been going well. But Kicker Bud, I think that's about it for tonight. We've been going for almost an hour now.
Yeah, I know. I got a big bowl of cereal waiting for me downstairs, so I'm hungry.
All right, final thoughts for the night from chat, from Kicker, from Nicky D.
Guys, just a lot of exciting stuff going on. Tournament seems fun. A lot of events happening. New products are hitting the market. 10th is on the horizon. Good stuff all around. So thank you for joining us for tonight. While we just gushed about geeky stuff all night long.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Seth, you got some last words for us?
Nope, I'll just take us out. So thank you so much for joining us. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Signals from the Frontline. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Good night.